Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is the 30th of August, the last day of the month. So let's see how that will end tonight. We'll talk about that on Monday. But today we'll start with Nvidia again. We have to talk about Nvidia because it was the first real trading day after earnings. That did disappointed slightly, and as we can see, it actually closed about 6% lower, and it closed below the key support here. Or I wouldn't say support so much as a pivot. It seems like a pivot for bull and bearish picture, and it actually closed below. So there's a great risk now that it will continue lower. RSI is pointing lower. If RSI drops back below 40 threshold, we are in a negative sentiment, and also if we move back below here at the cloud, then we are likely to see Nvidia dropping lower to around 100 level. You can read more in details about this in my analysis that I published yesterday. For Nvidia to have any chance of pushing higher and challenge these top and reversal patterns here, a close above 130 is required. On the indices themselves, well, we have excuse me, S&P 500 also almost unchanged yesterday after trying to push higher. So it seems like it's really struggling for upside potential. We still have this top and reversal pattern place, and this trade here yesterday, or this candle yesterday, well, it couldn't hold on. So let's see here on the last day of the month, and also going into next week and September, where traders and investors usually are coming back from holiday and having a look at portfolio, so they might clean house a little bit. So let's see what will happen. It could be a fairly volatile month, but I think it looks a little bit toppish. And Nasdaq almost unchanged, slightly lower, try to get back up there, but also here we are in a negative trend or bearish trend. We are below the cloud. We have this bearish engulfing in place here, and that really needs to be taken out and closed above to cancel that. For now, it looks quite toppish for Nasdaq. On the other hand, in Europe, that's a completely different picture, where we have EUROSTOXX 50, really good day yesterday, following through today, pushing towards 5,000. We have some resistance here just above the 5,050, 5,080, and I wouldn't be surprised if we could get up there to test that. So that has been one really strong a bounce after the massive sell-off there. So looking at 5,000 in coming days, and you can also see how the moving averages there turning around, so they support higher levels on EUROSTOXX 50. New all-time high in DAX, pushing towards 19,000, and positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating we are likely to see a test and also a break of 19,000. We are ripe for a little bit of a correction, but I don't think we will see a trend reversal anytime soon, but I will let you know if we see a top reversal. But for now, a very strong bounce and push higher. Amsterdam index finally got its mojo together after some sideways trading, and is now very close to testing 927 key resistance if it does close above that, and there's a great likelihood of doing it. You can see RSI back above 60 threshold, did that yesterday, so we could see Amsterdam index or AX trading above 927. That will also mean we are back above the cloud with a potential higher. CAC 40 also pushing higher. 77.25 strong resistance area. Could spike a little bit above, but we had the 200 moving average kind of putting a lid on it, and the same with the 100 coming down there. So I expect it to test it, and then a little bit of a correction lower, and then we'll probably have another push. And you can see RSI is in positive sentiment above 60 threshold, no divergence, indicating we are likely to see a higher push, but keep an eye on 7,725. Finally, on the Swiss market, currently actually recording a new all-time high. Can it close above? Well, then there's potential higher towards, and we can do just have an indication of that. So looking at the Fibonacci, well, then there's potential much higher, but I'm not quite sure we'll get all the way up there to 12,820 level. I think we'll have a little bit of correction after reaching 12,500 potential, but we are in a bullish trend with positive sentiment supporting higher levels on the Swiss market. Moving on to FX and euro dollar, as you can see here, we broke bearish out of this rising trend line, this rising wedge-like pattern. Let's zoom in a little bit. Very close to the support and the 38.2 retracement here at 110.50, 110.40. I still think we could test it. If it does break below, then we could see a push down to 109.50 with the just around the 61.8 retracement. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. But it is not unlikely after seeing this rising wedge. But again, I would just mention that on the bigger picture on the weekly chart, we're still in a bullish trend after breaking out of this triangle-like pattern and positive sentiment on the RSI. So it seems to me for now it's merely just a correction. If it does move back above 111.40, I think we will see a euro dollar resuming uptrend. Euro sterling currently testing 84 level, could dip a little bit lower into this area here, down to 83, 80-ish level. We are in a downtrend. It is not the strongest support, having just a round number. I just highlighted a round number there, so we could still push a little bit lower, also given that we have the RSI in a bearish sentiment. Cable, seems like it's warming up for a correction, doesn't it? But I want to see a break lower, below at least 131.35 for this to materialize. Could still push higher. We are in a bullish trend. We are in a positive sentiment. And looking at the weekly chart just quickly, once again, you can see it actually closed above these strong these strong resistance levels, and there's not really much stopping it until 135 plus levels. Dollar yen seems to be bouncing now off the 786 retracement at 143.33 above the falling trend line. Could it push higher to the 61.8 and 147 and a change? It's not unlikely, but if it takes out the lows here from earlier this week, well, then expect a push down below 142.5. Euro yen still holding on, dipping below the 160.55 a couple of times, below this 38.2 retracement at 160.25. Could bounce. It's really tough at the moment. I think if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 160, well, then I think we'll see a sell-off down to 158. But if it does keep itself above here, well, then it will still be range bound, maybe even a bounce up to close to the 164, but it will be a little bit of a struggle. So keep an eye on the 160 level there, at least for the moment. Aussie yen still caught in this range between 96.75 and 99.20. Really needs to break out of that, and I'll actually adjust this a little bit and say, okay, here we are. So 99 actually, very close to that, and then there's some resistance 99.90, but if it takes out that, then I think it also will tag out at the 99.90 and push higher. Sterling yen also in a range bound trading between 192 and 189.30. It needs to break out to get any meaningful direction. The Aussie dollar slowly ticking higher, really strong move still. If we move below 67.60, I think we'll see a correction, but then we have some strong support here around 67. So we are still in a bullish trend, and there's potential up to 68.70. Whether we get there is debatable, but it is a very strong move at the moment, but it could also be ripe for a little bit of a correction. So keep an eye on those levels. We have dollar Canada. Dollar Canada seems to find some support here at the 134.40, bouncing off, and could bounce towards the 135.50 maybe, and maybe even all the way up to 136, but it doesn't look convincing. But if we zoom out, and this is actually quite interesting, if we zoom out, you can see the blue line here, it's horizontal and it goes back all the way to where RSI was the last time. Well, it's not so much about the levels, it's more about it did turn around when RSI actually got down to around 2023. So we could see it this time also. But if dollar Canada takes out 134.40 and RSI drops below the 23 level, then expect a push lower to towards 134, maybe even lower. On the Swiss franc, we have Euro-Swiss bouncing from the 61.8 retracement at 93.55. Could bounce a little bit further towards the 94.40, 94.50 possibly. There's no divergence on the RSI and it's still in the negative sentiment, so I think we could still see a push lower to around 93, maybe even lower than that, if it takes out the lows here from the past few days at 93.50. Dollar Swiss, also a nice bounce, actually forming a bottom and a reversal pattern, and there's divergence on the RSI. You can see the values on RSI, they are rising, but dollar Swiss has been dropping. So I think we will see a bounce, so we can actually get a bounce all the way up to the 61.8 retracement at 86.15 going into next week. The first step will be 85.33. Finally, on the dollar index, also a bounce there, obviously, since also your dollar is in correction phase, reached the 38.2 retracement, 101.53. If it takes out that, well, then I think we'll see a push up to the 61.8 at 102.25. So those are the levels to look out for. But I think it will be a little bit in wait and see mode here for the most of the day. Moving on to gold, that has been fairly sideways with a slightly bullish undertone. We are still in a bullish trend, but there is divergence, as you can see here. The RSI values are declining, and we talked about this so many times now. If it can break above the falling trend line on the RSI and we can get a new push above 2,532, well, then I expect the precious metal to push towards 25.65 level, and again 23.70. Keep an eye on that. If it takes out that, expect a correction down to the lower rising trend line. Silver is a little bit annoying, I would say, at the moment. It doesn't do exactly what I wanted to do, but 28.78 and $30, that is the range to look out for. I want to close above $30. I don't think it did it there. No, it did not. Just below it, a close above $30, a close above the cloud, and an RSI close above 60. Then I think we'll see silver pushing higher towards a 32 level. If it takes out 28.78, well, then expect a resuming of the bearish trend. Copper, more or less the same picture, a little bit choppy here around the 422.35 support and resistance. RSI needs to get back above 60 threshold for a push higher. If it takes out the little spike up here from the other day at 431.85, well, then we have a confirmed uptrend with potential up to 440, 450, possibly 453. And the strong resistance up here at 470, but it is struggling a little bit at the moment, and if it drops below 412, then expect a larger sell-off. In the oil market, really not much to talk about other than what I have done for quite some time. You can see we're still in this range here with the triangle-like pattern, still holding on above support. So same picture on Brent crude oil, of course. So that is, it seems like we could play out the blue possibility, blue option here, but we'll just have to wait and see for a breakout. My written analysis is still out there on Brent crude oil and WTI, so go have a look at it. The US 10-year Treasury yields, well, still in this slightly falling channel here. 379 still key support, hasn't closed below, so it's still holding on. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend when you get to there, and happy trading.